Sit down. Care if I talk? I get kind of nervous when I take tests.
Just please don't move. You reach down, you flip the tortoise over on its back, Leon.
Cells.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't.
Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box?
I mean, you're not helping. Why is that, Leon?
Interlinked.
What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Why don't you say that 3 times? Within cells interlinked.
Within cells interlinked. Within cells interlinked. Within cells interlinked.
We're done.
How can we define humanity? What it means to be human? Every time we ask this question, we seem to run into a problem. We're trying to define something within itself. Think of it like trying to use math to prove that math is real. To quote Alan Watts, it's like trying to bite one's own teeth. It's impossible to grasp something within itself. Not that that stopped anybody from trying. For as long as there have been stories, we have been trying to answer that nagging question. What is humanity? How can we define what it means to be human? In the world of Blade Runner, the void comp tests and within cells tests were designed to detect emerging humanity in replicants, artificial created humans designed to be slaves. And since a free-thinking, independent robot with superhuman strength and endurance rebelling against squishy humans would cause some problems, Blade Runners were created as a profession of the police force to hunt down, identify, and retire rogue replicants. It's a simple concept for a film series, but the thing is, the main plot, and even just the film itself, serves merely as a vehicle for the questions that it wants to present and ask its audience. What does it mean to be human? Can you develop real human emotions and responses? What happens to those not born of greatness, but born of great insignificance? Through the story of Officer KD6-3.7, we see a nobody. A Blade Runner replicant that just does his job retiring old Nexus 8 models. Cold, emotionless, Constant K as he's nicknamed by the squad at the station. But even early on, we can tell that he craves and desires connection. He has a faithful companion in the AI Joi, a product created by the Wallace Corporation just like him. Except Joi is a holographic AI made for companionship, designed to tell you what you want to hear. But what's interesting is, while K craves connection, he denies himself any connection to anybody that's actually real, even though multiple people try to get into his pants throughout the film. And I mean, I don't blame them, I'd probably try to as well. What were we talking about? Oh, right, connections. He even denies ties to himself and his own emotions. Going even deeper, he suppresses the connection to a memory that he has, convincing himself it's just an implant meant only to keep him stable. But when he finds the toy horse in the foundry, hope that he is something more than just another number finally breaks through. We see a mixture of wonder and terror break out in Joe. The desire for connection actually being a facet of what it means to be human is a common thread among all of the characters in the film, most notably in the story of Anna. She craved a connection with somebody so desperately that she illegally shared a real memory in the hope of it having a connection with someone. One of the most spine-chilling scenes is when Joe erupts after Anna tells him that somebody lived this memory. It's disturbing because Joe thinks that it's his, that it confirms that he's the prodigal child. He erupts with all of the pent-up emotion that he has denied himself for so long. Though, if you're watching the movie again for the second, third, fourth, or I don't even know how many times I've watched this movie at this point, this scene takes on new meaning when you watch Anna's reaction. She sees what her desire for connection has done to somebody. She knows the mental blow that this is going to take on him when he finds out that it's not his memory. But she can't bring herself to tell him, and she breaks down. It's disturbing to watch. especially considering the fact that this scene follows immediately after she tells Kay.
It feels authentic, and if you have authentic memories, you'll have real human responses. Wouldn't you agree?
If what Anna says is true, how can you even define what is real beyond a gut feeling? The search for something real in a disconnected world is an idea that we see throughout the film, and nobody embodies this more than Joi. The only character in the film that the audience can all agree is distinctly non-human. Yet, the thing is, Joi becomes one of the most humanistic characters we see. She laughs the most out of any character in the film. She constantly tells Kay that he's special. When he finds the toy horse of his memory, she tries to celebrate with him, giving him a name, not just a serial number anymore, telling him he's special, not created but of woman born. She also has one of the most romantic scenes in the film when she experiences the outside world for the first time, standing in the rain with Kay on their anniversary. She even takes her life into her own hands, asking Joe to disconnect her from the home system, saying she understands the danger that if something happens to the Emanator, she will cease to exist, just like a real girl. Beyond that, she even chooses her death in a way, standing up for Joe, trying to stop love from killing him. In her last moments, telling him that she loves him. The chilling moment of her story happens when Joe walks by a billboard advertisement for the product Joi, and the soulless, black-eyed version of Joi tells him,
You look like a good Joe.
this is further accented by the billboard flashing, everything you want to hear. It's haunting, and it makes us question everything. Did Joi actually learn humanity, or was she simply programmed to tell him what he wanted to hear? I mean, as Joe became more human throughout the story, so did Joi. Was she simply programmed to mirror her owner? It's something that's left open for the audience and each individual watcher to interpret, which I guess is another way that you could define art. And personally for me, I think Joi did learn some level of humanity. She wanted to live on in Joe's memories. She wanted to be real for him. She went against her programming in an attempt to help Joe. When she asked him to disconnect from the main console, I like to believe that there was an ulterior motive of not being tracked by Wallace anymore. But it's a complicated, messy question that leads us back to our original questions of humanity. And more specifically along those lines, can one not born have a soul? Kay starts from a place of non-importance. He's no one. We see his beliefs when it comes to life and soul quite plainly.
I've never retired something that was born before.
What's the difference?
To be born is to have a soul, I guess.
Kay has been cold, constant throughout the entire film, never betraying any emotion even in the most dire, life-threatening situations. That is, of course, until his dangerous memory begins to unravel everything that he thought he knew about himself. The memory that places him squarely as the chosen one to save an entire race. A savior bringing the gift of potential life to replicants. A replicant born of woman, not created. He resists the hope that it could be him for so long, until he finds the horse and confirms the memory with Anna. Until this point, the only times that he has shown emotion is to Joi, in the quiet comfort of his home. But after finding the horse and beginning to doubt his beliefs as to what he actually is, he finally explodes at Anna's laboratory. He finally allows himself to have real emotions and responses. Something I find fascinating is when he fails his baseline after this, you can hear the difference in the speaker's tone. It's almost as if Joe is now processing the questions differently and he's hearing the questions differently. He now has a destiny, a purpose. That is until one of the hardest gut punches I have ever seen in a film. The entire film was purposely building Joe up as a classic savior archetype from every story that we're familiar with, only to rip it away from him when he reaches his highest point of hope. We as the audience have just been assuming that all of this time, Joe is the child because, well, that fits. The heroes of most stories do their heroic actions because they're special. They're chosen for a higher purpose. Embodiments of goodness meant to be examples of how we're supposed to model our life. The thing is, Joe isn't anyone of significance. He's a nobody. Just another number. Another being looking for connection and meaning. Instead of showing us a story of a chosen hero, 2049 flips the script and gives us a hero who chooses. He chooses to reunite a father with his daughter. It's not a grand liberation of an entire race. It's not single-handedly changing the world as we might expect from grand action films. But he chooses to go towards certain death to change the life of just one person. A stranger at that. I have a hard time relating to the superheroes and demigods of classic stories. But a story about a man of great insignificance, searching for meaning, desiring connection, and ultimately making a choice that will greatly affect the life of just one person? Yeah, that's a story I can understand and relate to. There are unmistakable parallels between Joe, Joi, and Roy Batty. All of them make a choice to use the last moments of their life to share their memories with someone, in the hopes that they in some small way may live on through them. That they won't be washed away like tears in rain, while the end of their story comes swiftly to a close. They all have a desire to know it all meant something to someone. That's something I think we can all relate to, and is a kernel of what it means to be human. Both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 mean more to me than I have the talent to express with words. They have changed how I view my own life, how I reflect on my actions, how I contemplate meaning and purpose. 2049 especially, as it has deepened my love of the first film, as well as being one of the most beautifully shot, scored, written, acted, moving pieces of art I have ever had the pleasure of watching. Really, my only regret is that I wasn't able to see this in IMAX. But as we come back to the original questions of what does it mean to be human? How can we define humanity? There is a line towards the end of 2049 that encapsulates a lot of the messaging and the questions of the film.
Dying for the right cause is the most human thing we can do.
While there is truth in this line, I would like to add my own amendment to it. While dying for the right cause is the most human thing that we can do, finding meaning in a connection and entrusting your moments to a stranger in the hopes that you may impact their life and live on in their memories is the definition of humanity.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion.
Why? What am I to you?
I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate.
All the best memories are hers.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears.